Albert Einstein said once, scientists investigate that which already is, engineers create that which has never been. As a future scientist and engineer, I want to find that which already is in order to create that which has never been. Over the last couple of months, I researched the effects of cholesterol in antimicrobial peptides. Before I tell you more about it, let me tell you why you should care and why you should listen to this talk. So, scientists before me have created and have worked on creating computational models to understand the behavior of antimicrobial peptides. But no one has investigated how the addition of cholesterol affects the binding to the membrane. This is novel work, and to our knowledge, no one has done it before. And it's really exciting because it could allow us to understand the overall mechanism of antimicrobial peptides in a deeper way. This work stands out because it will give us a more comprehensive model which can give us powerful insights to create clinical applications to cure diseases like lung and skin diseases and even cancer. And why cholesterol? We're trying to create a more realistic model. And cholesterol is present in the mammalian membrane, the membrane that we humans have and all mammals have, and that would help us achieve our goal. So what are antimicrobial peptides, also known as AMPs? So AMPs are molecules produced by most living creatures. These proteins have the ability to kill bacteria, fungi, viruses, and even cancer cells. AMPs can kill antibiotic-resistant bacteria, which makes them highly attractive to be a novel alternative to antibiotics. Despite their ancient origin, AMPs are dangerous and have toxic side effects. To find potential uses and applications, it's crucial to increase our understanding of these molecules and their complex activities using computational models. And how do they work? AMPs are a mechanism of defense. Positively charged AMPs are attracted into the negatively charged bacterial membrane, and by doing this, they disrupt the membrane and kill bacteria. And there are many types of AMPs. I'm specifically researching a type called miganin, which you can see in my poster, which is not just a regular peptide. It has an alpha helical structure, it has a 3+ charge, and how it disrupts the membrane is that by disrupting the membrane, it kills the bacteria. That's why it's really exciting. And let's talk about my research question. But before we do that, let me tell you more about it. So I'm building upon the previous work of scientists to build a more complete model. In the past, there was a proposed mechanism of defense where cholesterol wasn't used, but promising results were obtained. So as you can see, right below where it says continuing progress, we have a proposed mechanism where cholesterol wasn't used. So the first thing that they found was step 1 is that it forms a helical structure. Number 2, it has a cationic binding to the membrane, cationic meaning positive, and then positive charge. And then the last step here, step 3, which is the hydrophobic interaction, how and by that forces, it inserts the membrane. Once we understand what AMPs are and how we have arrived to this point, then we can talk about my research question, which is how does cholesterol affect AMPs binding mechanism? I think to find out more about the underlying principles of antimicrobial peptides to achieve the goals stated in the introduction. To our knowledge, this work will be the first simulation of antimicrobial peptides concerning cholesterol interactions. And let's talk about the methods and how I intend to do this and how I try to find this answer. So the proposed methodology can be divided in the following manner. So as you can see here, we have the introduction, we have the method, which has like the system, the simulation, and the analysis. So I created a system with the membrane and antimicrobial peptide, water molecules, and POPC, which is a lipid. And I created 5 copies of 5%, 20%, and 50% cholesterol with the corresponding POPC percentages. The one you can see here in the poster here is that the image you can see is that it has 50% cholesterol, 50% POPC. And that's the one that I use for my analysis as well. Then I simulated my systems to discover more about the mechanisms, and I also use a supercomputer to run my simulations. Lastly, I use programming languages, specifically Python, to understand my simulations and falsify my hypotheses. So once we understand how I did this, then we can talk about more about the analysis I've found. So I'm still in the very early stages of the analysis portion, but we can see promising results already. So the two graphs that we have here in the poster are on the left are two different copies of my system composed of POPC and cholesterol with 50% each. We have, and so we can see we have the y-axis and the x-axis. So the x-axis will be the time of the simulations in nanoseconds, and the z component, which it's showing the center of mass of the peptide. And then we see the fluctuations in the graph as the peptide approaches the center of the membrane. And then the current results and next steps are the following. Like I said, this work built upon models such as the one developed by my mentor, and so far we've seen that peptide has not shown binding yet. Still very early, but according to the analysis I've seen, the peptide has not shown binding yet. So now what is next is that I will compare the new results to previous work and see how they compare and interact, specifically with the POPC and with the model with no cholesterol, and then with cholesterol, and then we'll make the comparison and see if we find any promising results. And then so I can falsify or support my hypotheses, and then what I need would be more statistics and different ratios. We need more data in order to falsify or support my hypotheses, and I'm still in the very early stages. Why more statistics? I need more data that shows this, because it's often not as certain. So I need to run the averages and see how all the statistics support or falsify my hypotheses, and then different ratios to see how much of cholesterol affects the binding of the membrane. So I will intend to use 5%, 20%, and 50% like the one I've shown here. But overall, I'm really excited to keep going, and I'm looking forward to how this work can be useful not only for scientists, but also to patients who are in need of a solution using antimicrobial peptides. And before I end, I want to thank my mentor and everyone in the group by Pergola group, which they've been incredible, nice people who have taught me how to do good science. And especially my mentor, he had the patience and willingness to allow me to learn from his mistakes and, like I said, learn how to do good science. And I also want to thank the Euro program for allowing me the opportunity to do this exciting research that otherwise I would not have been able to do if it wasn't for Europe in the Illinois Office of Undergraduate Research. The work of a scientist is often to find what already exists, and often not really knowing what you're doing. Richard Hamming explained the dichotomy between science and engineering, and he said, in science, if you know what you're doing, you should not be doing it. In engineering, if you do not know what you're doing, you should not be doing it. Like I said, in this research, oftentimes I didn't know what I was doing, but I had the curiosity, I had the optimism, and I had the willingness to learn and put effort into my research. And I hope it will pay off in the future with being useful to other scientists and also to the many patients who are suffering from diseases like cancer. Thank you very much.